There was recently a public execution in hip-hop. It wasn't a rap war either. The SDRM was in real time. Have you ever witnessed someone walk out of a ring after thinking they were the winner? Did history just hit you hard? It was Jim Jones. Indeed. Furthermore, who is slapping? Oh, just Benzino, the man who still thinks he can control the culture with a flip phone, and Nas, also known as Godson, the lyrical killer. But last night was different. Jim Jones was toasted, roasted, and folded like soiled clothes in a Bronx laundry in front of thousands of people. Price wars seemed messy to you, no? This was a lyrical genocide in real time. Nas basically told Jim, "You don't belong here, champ. You're a featured rapper in a world of legends." What started out as a nice talk turned into a full-fledged rap intervention, and Ben, you know, that person was just adding gasoline to an already burning fire. What precisely transpired during the live stream, then? Why did Jim Jones receive the same treatment as an unpaid intern? And why, after all these years of stillness, did NS finally snap? Get a bag of popcorn. This one is terrible. Before we dissect the complete devastation of Jim Jones that occurred, let's take a moment to look back that we must comprehend why it appeared as though Karma in Timberlands was finally advancing down the corridor of hip-hop justice during that now famous live stream. This is the situation, then. Jim Jones, the self-described street commander, veteran of the Dipset, and the guy who somehow made shouting into a microphone appear like culture, had something to say about Nas. Indeed, Nas. The guy who came out with Illmatic before most of these new rappers were even born, you know. The one who inspired generations of lyricists with his pen game. I felt sick after reading that. Then, what was Jim Jones up to? He made a very clever move. He prodded the bear. All of this began months ago when Jim jokingly asked how NASA had affected contemporary hip-hop. Nas is awesome, but does anyone actually look for him these days? He paused and added. Let's all pause for a moment to consider the delusion contained in that statement. That small remark, that passive-aggressive blow to a legendary figure in hip-hop. It was not overlooked. Not by NAS, not by the fans, and most definitely not by the hip-hop gods who seem to have decided, all right, let's teach Jim Jones a lesson. Let's be honest, Jim Jones is no stranger to controversy. This man has made a career out of drama. From internal beefs amongst Dipsets to Nas has always played the long game. He doesn't rant or throw tantrums. Instead, he sits back and watches. And when he talks, you can feel it. So when he finally responded, not with a diss track, but with a quiet, measured live stream appearance, the internet exploded. From his falling out with Cameron to the time he fake sobbed on Love and hip-hop, the man has been a disaster. And we haven't even talked about the years he spent proving to the world that he is more than just a ball player. Nas didn't come alone. Just to make sure the message was clear. He had backup, unexpected backup, the kind that makes you double-check, hit the live button, and refresh your screen in shock. Come on, say whatever you want about Benzino, and trust me, when this man wants to be dirty, he comes up with notes, a grudge, and a front-row ticket to disaster. The stage was set, thousands of people watched, Twitter was ablaze with comments and screen captures, and it was about to explode when Nausea spoke, not loud or angry, just surgical. Some people mistake volume for value, he said, glancing at the camera. You don't necessarily have anything to say just because you yell. Say, boom. The Jim Jones front was immediately quiet. The sound of the Dipset chain striking the floor was nearly audible. Let's talk about what brought this to life now. The stream moment gets considerably worse. It was more than just Nas showing off his literary skills. It was the way, without raising his voice, he dissected Jim's entire personality. He dissected it into its component parts. Nas' legacy is multi-decade. Hits. There are classics on NAS. By contributing to the definition of the sound that Jim Jones and others appropriated from Bin, Nas had a cultural impact. He gave the coldest line of the night, a genuine surgeon of the shadows. With a hook written by someone else, Jim's career took off. "I don't compose jingles, I write legacy." Not many. And it didn't even get nasty at this point. No, that was only the opening sequence. Because Benzino entered just as Nas was settling back, feeling satisfied with his lyrical open heart surgery. He had been wanting to say this for years, as Yui could tell by the sneer on his face. The air was packed with energy. The comments section exploded when he leaned in the direction of the microphone and added, "Look, I've been in this field long enough to recognize who is real and who is reality." TV. Jim Jones. He's on VH1, not hip-hop. Just now, Jim Jones was cooked. Cut off the stream. "You can't get over this, bro." Since Kim wore pink, Dipset has lost by a wide margin. At this point, the broadcast had fallen into total chaos. As if their lives depended on it, fans were filming on screen. Twitter was already calling it the L, and blogs were crafting headlines of the year. However, don't act as though it happened suddenly. It has been smoldering animosity between Jim and Nas for a while. In hip-hop, there has always been a subtle distinction. Authors versus hustlers, worldwide nausea versus Jims, thinkers versus screamers. Persona, fashion, streak red, and viral events have always been major themes for Jim Jones. Nazis have been building empires in the background, keeping quiet until the situation calls for a microphone. As a result, when the incident happened on a random Tuesday night live broadcast, it felt more like a history lecture, with the teacher abruptly standing up in the middle of the "all right, enough cloning. Let's talk real music, but don't get it twisted." He did, in fact, try, he said in the middle of the lesson. Loud, animated, full of na-na, and full of hold-up energy, he dove into the stream with his usual zeal. Sadly, it was already too late. The crowd had shifted. The narrative had changed, and instead of being a rapper, he now seemed to be a man trying to swim in his own ego pool. This concludes the first portion. Because Jim Jones made an effort to get back up, Nas dropped another verbal bomb that put an end to everything just as he was trying to defend his identity and win back the crowd, and that's precisely where the video starts. Jim Jones tried to save face while clearly terrified and struggling to breathe in front of a live crowd. He leaned closer. That's when Nas decided to reload, "Ladies and gentlemen." He mumbled, "Yo, listen. I respect legends, but don't play with me like I ain't put in work." He cracked his neck and threw that false street tough face at the camera. "Work? Jim, you have had the same mixtape energy for 20 years. That is not progress. It is repetition." "There is a difference," Nas remarked without missing a beat. "I read your entire discography to get to the feature, so it was game over. But wait, this is hip-hop, and when it rains, it pours." Within minutes, yes, minutes, leaked DMS, industry sources, and anonymous insiders started to surface with stories that took this entire feud from heated to practically explosive. You could actually feel the crowd cringe. "Obituary," said another. It wasn't even combat rap. It was poetic justice delivered on a live stream platter. Jim Jones almost pleaded for it versus war against nausea to show his cultural significance in a series of purported texts between him and other CEOs, according to the enigmatic ANR. The messages included, "Let me get nauseous. Bring the streets, I'll. The audience is with me." The source claims that executives abandoned Jim on read without receiving a response or approval. His public humiliation was exacerbated by the fact that he tried to create a moment but was disregarded by the very people he thought would stand by him. But then things start to get interesting. In order to increase his prominence following the live performance, Jim Jones allegedly spent more than $100,000 on public relations, TikTok influencers, and streaming farms. Stream went viral, which was not good for him. The alleged breakdown of the invoices was $20,000 for a phony. In an effort to clear up a digital mess he had created on his own, he reportedly spent $15,000 on influencer tweets, $130,000 on streaming, boosts for his current song, and $35,000 on a crisis management firm that, according to sources, simply advised him to log off and pray. Nas, on the other hand, was already logged off and sipping tea quietly, akin to a samurai who had just washed blood from his weapon. In response, Twitter timelines turned into virtual cemeteries. False viral tweets and banquets were featured. On meme pages, like as Jim Jones being evicted despite only being a guest in an Australian restaurant, the realization that shouting at Ballon won't stop you from obtaining Jim's next mixtape, which should be called Apology Letter Volume 1. Even famous people participated, or at least the fake ones planned to act as though they did. The god Charlemagne is said to have spoken on The Breakfast Club. Real-time midlife crisis, Jim entered like a god and exited like a ghost. It was beautiful. Fake stated, "This is why you stay in your lane." Joe Button is determined to avoid any messy situations. That was suicide with lyrical assistance. However, NEA's alleged ex-partner had the most caustic and fake response, saying, "Nah, didn't even blink." That's the difference, Jim says, as though he were still paying for studio time. Even blink. Aww. In keeping with tradition, Jim was not going to take his return effort lightly, so let's talk about it now. He reportedly went live from his car the next morning. Since he was wearing sunglasses indoors, of course, and spoke directly to his fans using the most overused hip-hop term ever, damage control history. Everyone is aware of what it is. There are only lessons, not losers. I'm still outside. Bro, you're still outside. The streets are telling you to get back inside and think again right now about your decisions in life. However, the drama didn't stop there. Old clips were dug up by fans. Jim's disparaging remarks against K and other legends have reappeared. In a previous interview, Razwan insulted Talibku by saying that Illmatic was overhyped. Exaggerated? Oh. You're referring to the album that solely explored hip-hop's poetic landscape. These uncovered videos fanned the fires and further polarized the public against Jim Jones. This was more than just a one-night roast for many. After years of being despised by the hip-hop community, Jim was finally making money. Insiders at Spotify even claimed that Jim's streaming had dropped by 27%. Within 48 hours after the live display, NASA reportedly saw a 36% spike in streaming around this time. As a nod to the craft of mature destruction, fans are revisiting Magic 2 and Ether. Stillmatic. The greatest false moment, a meme that went viral showing a Dipset chain with a Pharrell tag and the remark available now slightly used comes with emotional baggage, according to a parody fan website. You came for a king. You left with a crown. Made of L's. So where does this leave Jim Jones? Publicly humiliated, digitally ridiculed, and musically humbled. His fans are trying to twist it. His crew is in panic mode, and the culture has already moved on to Nas, who is the aftermath of this live stream is much harsher on camera, with fictitious legal threats and phony business sponsors dropping out, so Jim Jones logs back invisibly. Exhausted, hoodie up trying to offer I don't care energy but delivering nothing but buddy I'm hurt. He starts with the traditional damage control phrase, y'all making this bigger than it is. I'm not even phased. I still receive money. But do you know what the culture heard? Jim was out here trying to minimize it, but the damage had already begun. Let's start with the fake industry backlash. According to an unnamed executive, a Jim's planned attendance at a major event, let's call it Rap, Royalty Reloaded, was abruptly dropped from the roster within 24 hours of the live stream. Why? Because, as our source puts it, we hired him for nostalgia. After that live webcast, all we received was bad press. No one wants to see a meme make headlines. It wasn't just festivals, then came rumors of legal threats. According to unverified, obviously made-up sources, Jim's legal team considered sending Nas a C, for what purpose exactly? That section was unclear. Jim was allegedly talking about a custom dip set of kicks. Collaboration also reportedly failed. as followers flooded the brand's page with clown emojis and phrases like "Do not allow this man to put his name on anything with a legacy." Corporate sponsors dislike controversy unless they are winning. Jim Jones was now losing badly. One viral meme stated, "Jim Jones is suing for damages after catching a lyrical fade on live stream," while another saw it as public humiliation. Nas. Jim's public relations staff was working tirelessly to one unidentified expert reportedly said, "Lean into the defeat. Take ownership of it. Recognize yourself." However, Jim went in the other direction and doubled down, saying that the internet had distorted everything, that Nas wasn't even discussing facts, and that the live broadcast had been changed. This was error number 57, and YouTube and Reddit threads went viral. Twitter descended into a battleground of clips, edits, and breakdowns akin to rap CSI. One viral video, "Nas violates Jim Jones," received over 2 million views in just 3 days. However, the hip-hop community itself delivered perhaps the greatest blow of all, with rappers who had previously shared stages with Jim Jones either going silent or abruptly joining the Nas train, and phony statements started to appear everywhere. Jim tried to out-rap Nas like a lawnmower trying to race a Tesla. Styles P probably didn't say this, but it sounds like fire. It was clear that the culture had taken sides. Untrue. Jim Jones was not on the winning team. Now, let's speak about the financial ramifications. According to bogus insider claims, Jim's current single, "Hurried Out" post-live Dream as a comeback hymn bombed so terribly that DSP supposedly removed it from key playlists within 48 hours. One insider was cited as stating, "We tested it, but listeners kept bypassing it after the first line." The same source claims that Jim Jones paid dancers and influencers up to $50,000 to try to promote the song on TikTok, and even the #JonesRevenge movement failed miserably. However, NHA's library saw a spike, with Spotify reporting a phony 41% increase in Nas-related streams, and vinyl sales of Illmatic. Unexpectedly, the part that really hurts is this: fans started demanding that Jim Jones retire officially, not as a joke. As a show of compassion, hashtags like #respectfully, retire Jim Jones, #DipSecDone, and #Jim Jones vs. Quiet trended for 2 days straight. In the midst of the chaos, fake Twitter parodies appeared. Live feeds were lost despite sponsorships and digital dragging. Jim still had one last desperate move, and according to a fake leak, he went out to Cameron, yes, the same Cameron he's been on. The fan base is caught between preserving a legacy and laughing at a collapse, while Nas sits in silence like a proud sensei who just taught the world, "Don't come for a king unless you're wearing classic armor." This wasn't just a quarrel or even a diss. Cam allegedly ghosted him in response to their ongoing feud over reuniting Dipe It for the sake of the culture and reclaiming relevance. According to a false insider, Cam has been waiting for this man to fall for years. We saw a man go from "I'm on the streets" to "please remove the film" in less than 48 hours, which is a speedrun to irrelevance if we've ever seen one. Maybe, just maybe, this was what upcall hip-hop needed. Artists would think twice before approaching a lyrical icon with a 30-year history and a fan following that still cites Matic like scripture. And with that, the curtains fall on this video of this tale. So, the dust has cleared, or has it? It's our turn now, the real judges of the culture. Was Jim out of pocket? Did Nas go too far? Do you think Jones can recover from this burning mess? Let us know what you think. Nas didn't just win. He reminded everyone that we're going to show everyone what a true legacy looks like. No drama, no ranting, just cold, calm, silent devastation. And it's more gangster than